The unforgiving landscape of the Mojave Wasteland is filled with many peculiar and terrifying entities, yet perhaps the most eerie and mysterious of them all are the ghost people introduced in the Dead Money DLC. These shuffling gas mask zombies are not only shrouded in mystery, they are also near invincible, making them one of the deadliest threats encountered in all of Fallout. But what actually are they? What is their tragic backstory, and how did they become the near unkillable killing machines that they are today? The year is 2070-something, and egotistical business magnate Frederick Sinclair, fueled by a number of high-profile financial losses, is becoming increasingly obsessed with personal security, and after many years of slowly rebuilding his personal fortune, Sinclair's obsession took on the form of the Sierra Madre Casino and Resort, a grand Art Deco villa and casino, hidden away from prying eyes in a reclusive area not far from the Grand Canyon where guests could reverse their fortunes and begin again. During the course of the Sierra Madre's construction, Sinclair found himself drawn to the Hollywood starlet Vera Keys. Their whirlwind romance blossomed amidst the ominous backdrop of a world teetering on the brink of atomic destruction. The looming spectre of potential atomic war imbued their love story with a sense of urgency, fueling Sinclair's obsession with safety to a feverish height. Driven by the desperate desire to shield his newfound love from the impending catastrophe, Sinclair resolved to transform his casino into an impregnable fortress of survival. Below the grandeur of his casino, a virtually indestructible vault was meticulously constructed and designed to withstand even the harshest blasts of nuclear warfare. Advanced vending machines were installed throughout the casino, providing a means to break down and convert casino chips into vital resources such as food, weapons, and chems, ensuring the casino's self-sufficiency when severed from the outside world. And to further bolster the casino's defences, Sinclair obtained a number of state-of-the-art holograms, and these holograms were designed to both provide assistance to guests and to act as tireless sentinels, warding off any potential intruders and fighting crime within the casino's walls. Sinclair did not have the smarts or the resources to come up with this first-of-its-kind technology himself though. No, for the experimental technology used in the Sierra Madre, Sinclair relied on everyone's favourite mad scientists, the researchers of the Big Empty. However, procuring such cutting-edge technology came with a hefty price. Sinclair found himself teetering on the brink of financial ruin, the immense cost of the research steadily depleting his fortune. Eventually, a compromise was reached, a deal steeped in both desperation and ambition. In exchange for this unparalleled tech, the brain boxes of the Big Empty demanded that the Sierra Madre act as a testing ground for a number of their other prototypes. And just like that, Sinclair was cornered into an agreement that was more than just a business deal. It was a pact that would soon prove to be the downfall of Sinclair and the Sierra Madre. This downfall came in the form of the Cloud, a prototype corrosive and self-replicating toxin that smelled of copper and sulfur and hung in the air like a dust cloud, ready to seep into the skin of anyone it came into contact with. The Cloud first manifested itself in the cheap air ventilation system of the Sierra Madre's villa section, backing the pipes up and spewing out of vents as a thick red cloud. Maintenance workers in the area began experiencing a disorientating loss of focus, accompanied by waves of dizziness and vomiting. But for those unfortunate enough to be enveloped in concentrated pockets of the cloud for extended periods, the effects were truly horrific. Their flesh began to decay whilst they could only watch in helpless terror, likely leaving them looking like some kind of pre-war ghoul. In response to these events, Sinclair went back to the researchers at the Big Empty to procure a number of hazmat suits that would allow his workers to continue their work unimpeded by the Cloud. Upon arrival of the suits, workers found them unsettling to look at and uncomfortable to wear, noting that they were incredibly bulky and grew stiff with use. The workers even had to develop a basic form of sign language due to the suits impeding their sight and hearing. Little did these workers know, however, these creepy new hazmat suits were just an experiment within an experiment, as when they ventured down into the villa's ventilation pipe to find its fault, the Cloud began to erode the metal of the suit's locks, allowing the Cloud to creep in and locking the workers within their own suits, turning them into unwitting guinea pigs in a twisted scientific experiment. Despite these issues, the workers did eventually manage to restore the vents and dissipate the cloud for some time. But then a number of years later, after the bombs of the Great War had fallen, the vent system once again failed, and the workers who had survived the apocalypse relatively well in the seclusion of the Sierra Madre once again had to don their hazmat suits and battle the cloud. This time though, the cloud won, blanketing the area and blotting out the sun. While the workers were overwhelmed by the cloud, they weren't actually killed by it. No, something much stranger happened. Whether a result of the bizarre prototype hazmat suits filtering the cloud through its vents, or some side effect of the high levels of radiation present after the Great War, the cloud began to mutate the workers into something less than human. They began to absorb the cloud, forming pockets of it within their bodies, making these people, these ghost people, near immortals as a result, no longer requiring food, drink, or sleep, and never aging. They even became near impervious to damage, and if you did somehow manage to down one of these freaks, they'll just enter a period of repairing their body and rise again to hunt you down. The only true way to take one of these creatures down for good is to dismember a limb, disintegrate them entirely, or as displayed by Dog, target, or in his case eat, one of the areas of their body housing a pocket of the cloud. Whether it's the centuries of exposure to the cloud or radiation, the ghost people have devolved into a nearly feral state. They neither sleep nor eat, they simply wander the grounds of the Sierra Madre, their movements hindered by the ever-stiffening suits. Despite this feral state, they do exhibit more intelligence than your average feral ghoul, even creating their own weapons and utilizing basic combat strategies and traps. Another example of their rudimentary tactical knowledge is the existence of 3 distinct variants of ghost people, each having a different approach to tracking and hunting their prey. The most common form of ghost person are the harvesters, small hooded beings equipped with knife spears and throwing spears. They attack prey from range before charging in for the kill. The trappers are large, bulky ghost people. They shun the hoods worn by others and wield bear traps around their fists. The trappers are notorious for laying bear traps and tripwires around the Sierra Madre in an attempt to capture their prey. And finally, the seekers are the rarest of the group. They carry knife spears and gas bombs which they wield to deadly effect. The group tactics displayed by these different types of ghost people would suggest some sort of communication between individuals, and while we do often hear the sound of their raspy breathing, we never actually hear them talk. So it could be possible that they communicate via sign language, a holdover from their times as maintenance workers before the war. And if these guys spot you, and you're unlucky enough to have been grabbed by one of them, well then you might just learn how they reproduce, as the apparent lack of women and inability to remove the hazmat suits makes traditional means impossible. The ghost people may instead further their numbers by, in the words of Dean Domino, grabbing you and dragging you off into the cloud, where they would then presumably shove you into a spare hazmat suit and wait for the cloud to turn you into the latest member of their growing army of ghost people, ready to watch over the Sierra Madre and the cloud that is now part of you for the rest of your existence. What do you think of the ghost people? Creepy, unkillable monsters, or overrated hipster ghouls? Would you brave the ghost people-ridden streets of the Sierra Madre for untold riches? Let me know down in the comments and make sure to subscribe for more lore. Thanks for watching, catch you next time.